Good morning and welcome to another episode of What's the Deal? And today is a really special one for me because I have the ability of speaking with Kyle Jepson. And we're going to be talking about what's the deal with HubSpot. Let's get it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Kyle, how are you doing, sir? Welcome to the Caribbean. I have to say it like that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy to be in the Caribbean. It's cold here in Boston.
And welcome to What's the Deal? How are you doing, my friend? What's the weather like over there in Boston?
Good. It's chilly, but I'm in a warm house, and I'm happy to be hanging out here with you. I'm excited for
Right.
this.
Thanks. Same here. Same here. Have you ever been to the Caribbean before?
I never have.
Oh, you've never had. Okay, so at some point we may have to work on how do we get you. Maybe when things open up a lot more, we need to maybe
Yeah,
do a in-person hug or
I
something.
I
Something.
would come. I would absolutely come.
All right, so guys, just let me give you another introduction. The reason why I'm so excited about this is because of the fact that you all know that I'm a big advocate for HubSpot, mainly because of the fact that HubSpot to me has become that main platform that really does help customers streamline their stuff as it relates to sales and everything else. And the funny thing is that I actually built a relationship with Kyle online even before Kyle and I had our first conversation from 2014 because I started looking at Kyle's the HubSpot Academy and really started to learn a lot of things there. And it's just so amazing that the journey between me leaving the corporate entity, becoming a sales enablement practitioner, and also deciding to now use HubSpot as that platform to help companies grow. And now actually getting the opportunity to meet Kyle is amazing. So again, Kyle, welcome, and I look forward to just getting into a lot more about HubSpot.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man. So, if you could, can you just give the folks a little introduction about yourself? Tell them, again, who you are. They already know you as Kyle Jepson, but what is it that you do exactly at HubSpot?
Yeah. So HubSpot is the software company. We're going to talk a lot about that. But they have this educational arm. We call it HubSpot Academy, and
Right.
that's where I work. And we create free education for anyone who wants it. So my job specifically revolves around sales and HubSpot's sales software, our CRM and sales enablement tools. So kind of my chief responsibility is teaching people how to use those and get value out of them. But then by extension, because HubSpot works with so many small and mid-sized businesses and startups and other just companies that are trying to get their sales processes and things figured out, I make a lot of sales training that's just general training. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're using HubSpot or not. We've got training for sales reps. We've got training for sales managers. We've got sales enablement training. Whatever it is you need for your company to be able to grow better. So that's what I do for work. And it, you know, I I also really enjoy LinkedIn. So lately it's not an official part of my job, but
Right.
I have a steady stream of short explanatory videos, 30 seconds, 2 minutes on LinkedIn multiple times a week, just explaining little pieces of HubSpot because there's a lot to know.
Right. So I like the fact that you shared that, and I've seen some of those videos, and those videos are, I mean, as much as you are excited when you share those things, I also get excited because I have been able to see the growth of HubSpot, and just maybe from HubSpot listening to their customers and, building other things to help the customers be able to do their job better and service their own customers. It's amazing. So I have a question for you, right? And this is a question where a lot of folks would say to me, HubSpot? Isn't it? Isn't that where you go and you get certifications for sales and marketing? And a lot of people just don't know anything about the CRM. So if I were to ask that first question, what's the deal with HubSpot as it relates to like why the academy as opposed to just having a CRM platform? Because other CRM providers do not have anything like what you guys have. So why have a balance between that academy and also the CRM as well?
Yeah, so the thing I really love about HubSpot, the reason I've stuck around here for 6 years and plan to stay around a lot longer, is that
Right.
it's really a vision-driven company. Our mission at HubSpot is to help millions of organizations grow better. We haven't achieved that yet. We're at like 100,000 customers, but to get to millions is going to take a long time. And so part of that, of course, is providing CRM software, marketing software, whatever kind of software you need to run your business
Right.
to grow. But a part of that is education also. The world is changing really rapidly. Ever since the internet came into play, the rules of sales and marketing have changed and are constantly changing. And it is really hard if you are a frontline salesperson or if you're a
Mhm.
marketer and you're just heads down working all the time. It can be really hard to pause and take a look around and figure out the trends and what's changing and what you need to do. And so at HubSpot Academy, we provide that education for free because we realize the tools are only half a solution. If you don't have a
Right.
good marketing strategy or sales strategy or customer service strategy or operation strategy or whatever kind of strategy, the
Right.
tools aren't going to solve that problem for you. You have to have an idea of what it is you want to accomplish and how you're going to do it, and then you can use the tools to get there faster. So between education and the tools, we hope to provide everything you need for your company to grow better.
Right. So I really do appreciate the fact that it actually has me thinking which one came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the academy come first or did the CRM come first? But at the end of the day, they're both so valuable as it relates to, unless you want to try to answer that question.
Yeah, I'm happy to actually. So like HubSpot Academy, the term HubSpot Academy that came after HubSpot first started creating software. But uh, Brian Halligan and Dharmesh Shah, the two guys who founded HubSpot, the very first thing they did before they had any software, before they had anything, was they bought HubSpot.com and started a blog and just started
Mm,
posting marketing advice. And
right.
HubSpot's marketing blog, I mean, we have HubSpot Academy, which is this video-based training, but in addition to that, we have blogs that are very popular. We just recently launched a podcast network where you can
So
learn a
that.
lot of things, and we are just a kind of a media giant. We are trying so much to provide marketing and sales and customer service and like strategic business uh, education in a variety of formats. And so HubSpot
Right.
really started with that education piece. It was a blog first. They knew they were going to build some sort of tool, but they hadn't started on it yet. But the main observation was the internet has changed the relationship between companies and their customers.
Hmm.
And they initially started marketing needs to adapt, and so they built marketing tools. And then they realized, well, sales needs to change too. So the CRM and the sales tools came, and then well, we need service also. And at each step of that journey, we've not only built tools, but we've also built education to support it.
Right. So in that instance, now I've heard of many different terminologies of CRM, but of course the one that sticks is customer relationship management. The thing is that I've been hearing that for a long time, right? And even when I go back, sometimes when I'm speaking to customers, introducing them to what CRM is, I would give them the ancient ways of people writing stuff down in a book or they copying
Yeah.
stuff on Excel, and because those were their own ways of managing the customer relationships. in terms of, because of course in your mind, I would know what Kyle is coming back for over and over, but I still need to write information down as it is. So how important would you say a CRM platform is now to organizations, growing organizations, large or small?
I I mean, I'm biased, but I think it's vital. I think it's so important. If you think of the old world of handwritten notes, for instance,
Um,
if your sales team is contacting people, working with them, understanding their needs, and jotting down notes in a notebook or on note cards or whatever, um, then once that customer is sold to, especially if you're in a service industry, if your service people then go to work with that customer and don't have that salesperson's notes, they have to start that relationship over again. And from the
mm,
customer's perspective, that's terrible, right? Like I have spent days or weeks or months talking to your salesperson, told them all about my situation and why I'm thinking about buying your thing, and we worked to figure out a solution just for me. And now this new person comes in and I have to tell you all over again. I've
yeah,
already been through this. There is no value to the customer at all if you're making them repeat themselves. And so what you get when you have a CRM platform that your marketing team, your sales team, your service team are all using together is one source of truth, one record for each customer and potential customer, right? And whether
right,
they received a marketing email that was part of a larger marketing campaign, or they were on the phone with a sales rep, or they submitted a ticket to your support team, or whatever the case is, all of that's going to be stored in one location. And so now your teams can start to work together, right? Your sales team can
yeah,
understand, they just received this marketing email. I can either, reference that, or I can just not send this email I was about to send that says the same thing, right? Or like if there's a support issue, maybe now is not a good time for me as a salesperson to come in and try to upsell them, right? Because maybe we should fix that issue first. And you
right,
just get all these opportunities for collaboration that if you don't have that foundation of a shared record and single source of truth are just impossible.
right. So I like the fact that you said single source of truth, because I do remember earlier this week, while in a CMS workshop, I remember seeing this, right?
Yeah.
So I maybe want us to maybe go into this a little bit. And when you say a single source of truth, like I mean, I've heard it before, but I never saw the graphic until Monday. So when HubSpot says it's a single source of truth for all revenue operations, how would you help customers sort of break this down as much as we have it graphically?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, revenue operations is a term that's been used a lot lately by a lot of different people to mean different things. To just start with a definition of that, if we just very simply consider revenue operations all the things your company does to try to make money, uh, that's pretty broad, right? You've got the
Right,
marketing team trying to get people's attention. You got the sales team trying to sell to people. We've got the service team trying not just to provide value to those people, but hopefully, get referrals and advocacy and positive reviews online so that that attracts more people to you. That's why we illustrate this as a cycle. We don't want you to think of, you find somebody and you sell to them and you make them a customer and that's the end of the story. Hopefully,
right,
if they're really happy, they will go out and tell their friends to buy from you too. And suddenly your customers become an extension of your marketing and sales team, which is really
right,
powerful. And so if you can get this cycle going, that is that's the best case scenario. That's how
right,
companies grow better today.
right.
But this idea of a single source of truth, you can only get that cycle going if it's a really great experience for your customer from beginning to end, right? If your
Mm,
marketing team is describing your product one way and your sales team is describing it another way, that's gonna cause friction in this cycle that will slow it down, right? Or if marketing and sales are tripping over each other and contacting the same person at the same time, that can scare people away. And similarly,
yes,
sales and service, right? If that handoff is not smooth, like I was describing, if that relationship feels like it has to start over from scratch, that's really gonna slow it down, right? Those
mm,
customers are not going to be happy anymore. They're not going to tell their friends to buy from you. They might, in fact, tell their friends, this company really dropped the ball. I kind of wish I went with one of their competitors. And now it's going to be harder for your marketing and sales teams to
yes,
attract new people to you. And so to have this single source of truth, this one record, where all of those activities, all those revenue generating activities are tracked in a single place. And not just, individual records for individual people, but reporting and automation and all the things you need to do to make your company operate. If all of that is pulling from a single system, then it's much more likely that it's going to work smoothly, right?
Yeah.
If you start having multiple different systems, you might have different data in one versus another, and now you have to figure out how to reconcile those differences. Or you might have both systems doing the same thing, so it's happening twice, or maybe somebody's missed and falls between the cracks and isn't in either system. So it's just it, it it simplifies so much for your business if you have everything recorded in one spot and all your
One
teams
spot.
are working from the same thing.
So so a lot of what you said there are things that I would experience because I came through different sizes of organizations, and the last organization that I worked with, they were a major conglomerate. They had a lot of companies regionally, and the approach that we used Excel to report on sales. We sometimes only found out what customers were experiencing when the sales rep got to the customer, or when something escalated because of finance, because finance wasn't, because finance is sometimes abject to the entire process. What I have found though is that what HubSpot gives us the ability to do is that even though those folks, let's say finance isn't an immediate part of the sales process, even though they are part of the process, but they kind of outside of the mix, is that we can all be involved in terms of what is happening based upon the communication with the organization. And what really stood out to me as well is I felt that HubSpot's change to what we understood as a sales process in terms of it being linear, where it just ended after we gave the customer, and developed
Yeah.
something called a flywheel, to me was revolutionary. No pun intended by flywheel and the word
Revolution. No,
revolutionary,
I
right?
like that.
Right? But it was just an amazing thing because that's really what happens. Based upon the process that you go through from attracting the customer on the marketing side, and I've had my major challenges with marketing as a sales leader in an organization where I didn't get anything from marketing back in the day. Um, then of course to my team actually not always engaging well, and we don't know what's happening. If somebody goes on vacation and a customer calls, do we call that person to ask them to open up their laptop? you know
Right.
and then at the end of it, there's a drop off because we don't know what that customer's experience is like. We only do customer service surveys, which is done by marketing, um, once a year or once every 6 months, but you will tend to find that the people on the ground, and that has been one of my biggest learnings from a platform like HubSpot, because of the fact that you've really done. I mean, Brian, Damish, and the entire team, you guys have really helped people like myself have a better appreciation as to how things are really supposed to be operating within an organization, that entire union. Would you say that that is maybe one of the big differentiators as it relates to HubSpot? Like, what would be HubSpot's main differentiator apart from what is it everything that you all are doing already?
Yeah, so certainly this idea of a flywheel, this cycle that you have on the screen here that we've been talking about that's a cherished philosophy we have, and it's not just revolutionary for our customers. It was revolutionary for HubSpot when we first started thinking this way,
Right.
um, and we have really been working to build the tools to do that. I think as far as what differentiates HubSpot software from some of our competitors is that we've built it all ourselves. A lot of CRM companies will start as a CRM or whatever piece of software, and then they will start acquiring other companies, right? They'll acquire a marketing automation platform, and they'll acquire a ticketing software, and they'll acquire some other things, and they start cobbling it together, and all the tools are there. You have everything you need, but it's not connected as nicely as you would hope, and it
Yes.
doesn't always work as smoothly as you expect it to. HubSpot has built everything from scratch. None of we have a CRM, we have marketing tools, sales tools, service tools. We have a CMS for building websites. We have some operations tools now and developer tools. Um, None of that was added to the HubSpot platform through acquisition. All of it was crafted internally so that everything works with everything else. And you get this really consistent experience across all the different tools, and you get data flowing in really fantastic ways that
Fair,
unlock
yes,
a
yes,
lot of potential. If something works in one spot of HubSpot, it'll work the same way in another, and that experience delivers on the idea of a all-in-one platform in a way that sometimes our competitors cannot. They have all the tools. Sometimes, frankly, they have better tools than we do, but you have these gaps and disconnects, and I think the power of all the HubSpot tools working together so seamlessly is really what sets us apart as a platform.
yeah, yeah. I would I would say the same thing as well. So I want to take you back a little bit to something that Brian said, right? And it's something that a philosophy that I've actually seen HubSpot live, and also one that I may have mentioned to one or two customers. In 2020, he had a really powerful presentation where he said, "How they sell is why they win."
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you could summarize a little bit as to what he was speaking of as it relates to where organizations should be looking at, which also ties itself into HubSpot, by the way. So for those who are listening, if you can maybe give a brief summary as to what he was referencing there, that would be great. And I think that would actually take me into a couple other questions that I have here
Sure.
for you.
Yeah, so Brian Halligan, one of the founders of HubSpot, he was our CEO for a long time. He recently became the chairman of the board. Um, he talked about how for a long time, if you wanted to win at sales, you had to have the best product, and that was the only way to win. And
Hmm.
now we have come to a change where it's great if you can have the best product. Don't get me wrong. By all means, try to have the best product you can. But what matters even more is the experience of buying that product. If you can make it easy and enjoyable and reduce the amount of fear and risk people feel when they're buying your product, that is the ideal. And we're seeing this, we'll use the word revolution again in the world where companies are really focusing very carefully on the experience they're providing during the sales process, right? So I think a common example is mattresses. Suddenly there are a lot of mattress companies, Purple and Casper and all of these where you can buy mattresses online. And not very long ago, that would have been crazy to think about, right? Like, how could I possibly buy a mattress online? I want to go to the mattress store and lay on it and see what it feels like and see if I'll enjoy it. But what these companies are saying is, no, actually, that's not what you want to do. You want us to mail the mattress to you so you can try it out in your own home for as long as you need to decide if you actually sleep well on it, right? You can sort of get an idea if you like a mattress if you just sit on it at the mattress store. But what will really tell you if you like it is if you have a month or two or a year to sleep on it before you decide whether or not you want to buy it. And that's what a lot of these companies do. They mail the mattress to you. It comes to your house all wrapped up and you put it on your bed and then you can sleep on it for a really long time and still have the freedom to say, you know what, I don't like it. I'm going to send it back and free returns, right? And that is in a nutshell kind of what we're talking about, right? We are taking away all the risk of buying a mattress, right? Buying a
Hmm.
mattress, if you go to the store, you got to figure out how to lug it home. You get it there. If you find out I don't actually sleep on it very well, then what do you do? Um, they've removed all of the unpleasant factors, and we're seeing
Right.
other industries try to do the same thing. We're seeing even things like cars can be delivered
Cause
now,
yes.
and glasses, and all sorts of different products you can order online. They come to your house. You can try them out for a while, and then you can return them if you want. And so what that does is, I don't know for sure if Purple or Casper makes the best mattresses in the
Mattresses.
world, or if Carvana has the best prices for cars, or if Warby Parker has the best glasses in the world. But what these companies are doing is just making it so easy to try out their products. And
Mm.
they say, if you don't like it, just send it back to us, and no harm done. You don't lose any money. And if you can take away that risk, because every purchase has an element of risk, right? We as consumers, we don't want to spend money and get something we're going to be unhappy with, and especially if it's an expensive product, we don't want to spend money and then never get it back.
Never.
And so,
Correct. Yeah.
um, anything you can do in whatever industry you're in to think about what makes people hesitant to buy my product, what makes it scary, and if you can get rid of that and make it a pleasant experience instead, then you're going to win. Even if your product isn't the best product in the market, even if you have competitors who have a nicer form of your product, or if you're in a service industry, if you have a competitor who has more experience than you can start to take away some of the market from them just by
Mm-hmm.
providing a really pleasant experience.
You're
And
right.
so,
Uh, So, and I agree with that because of the fact that a lot of, and I think this is where I think you alluded to initially, and it's kind of now come up in the conversation where the whole buying experience has changed. Well, the sales experience has to change because the buying experience is now different because of the fact that we have the internet, and people are doing a lot more investigation first, and doing their comparisons and making a decision. So the people, the organizations who can start giving that experience and then giving that information very early, are the ones who would initially win, and then of course who can now follow through on the things that they say that they will be doing. So it did deliver as advertised. Are the ones who now build on that delight factor of the flywheel, right? Now, what I want to touch on a little bit is the importance of inbound now in 2022.
yeah,
Because so let me speak about it from the standpoint of the folks in the Caribbean, right? We, to me, we are still very um, adverse in terms of how do we want to now start using technology. I have some customers, when I try to encourage them to do blogs, they like blogging. Who's going to read the blog, or you know, without them really understanding that there is value in matching your marketing activities towards sales. Can you give maybe some insight as to the value of inbound, like right now, kind of tying it into the whole customer journey?
yeah, absolutely. I think my favorite example of this is a man named Marcus Sheridan, who worked at
Yes.
a pool company in 2008. And I I don't know what things were like in the Caribbean in 2008, but here in the States, 2008 was a huge economic downturn. And
Mhm.
he worked at a pool company here, right? And swimming pools are things people buy when the economy is good. They are not things people buy when the economy is bad. And he had two partners in the business, and the three of them were faced with their company maybe going out of business.
Mhm.
And late one night, sitting at his dinner table, he was looking on the internet trying to figure out what to do. He came across HubSpot's blog and learned about this idea of inbound, which is the way he summarizes it is they ask, you answer. Basically, you
Yes,
figure out the
yes.
questions people have about your product or your industry, and you post the answers on the internet so they can find them. And then you're building this relationship of trust, right? They see you as the person who answers the questions they have. And so when they're ready to make a purchase, you're the person they come to first. And so he just went all in on that idea. He knew from, having been a salesperson on the sales floor of their swimming pool company, what sorts of questions people have about. They sell fiberglass swimming pools, which are these pre-molded in the ground swimming pools, and so people had all sorts of questions about how durable they were. Do they pop out of the ground? Like, what does it take to install them? How much do they cost? And none of the other swimming pool companies were answering these questions. Uh, so he just started writing blog posts to answer them. Right?
Mm.
How much does it cost? Well, it depends a lot on the size, and it depends on what your land is like, how much work it'll be to dig the hole. But you can expect a range of this amount to this amount. He was very transparent about the actual cost, rather
Yes.
than just saying, "Hey, meet with sales and we'll have a consultation." Like here's how you can sort of estimate on your own what it'll cost. And questions about durability and other sort of scary questions for a salesperson to admit. Sometimes if you're in this circumstance, maybe you shouldn't buy a fiberglass swimming pool. Maybe it won't work well for you. And
Hmm.
because he did that, his swimming pool website became the most popular swimming pool website in the world.
Right.
Right? And that is going to be good for business, even in this economic downturn when most people who would normally buy swimming pools decide not to. The few people who were doing well enough to buy swimming pools came to his company because they knew they could trust him. And that's kind of that's just the idea of inbound, right? People
Yeah.
want to trust the companies they work with. People want to understand what sort of commitment is involved, what sort of risk is involved, what kind of things they should be thinking about. And so many companies are hesitant to answer those questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to put any of that on their website. They just want to say, talk to our salespeople so we can trick you into buying our product. And that's no good, right? If we go back to this idea of a flywheel, you might be able to trick people into buying from you, but if they're unhappy with the product, then they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell the internet, they're going to post negative
Yes.
reviews, they're going to tweet about you, and then the next time you try to trick someone into buying from you, they're not going to fall for it, right? Because all their friends on the internet have told them they should not do business with you. And
Yes.
so leaning into trust, really pushing to be transparent about how you operate and what your product is like, both the good and the bad parts of it,
Mm-hmm.
will give people more confidence in buying from you.
Yeah. I saw which I think, because it's a big change, because I think what has happened with inbound for me, even though I am predominantly heavy on the sales side, I have now seen the value of inbound, because I learned from 2003 when I started selling cars. I learned sales outbound: pick up the
Yeah,
phone, call the customers, go out and meet and greet, canvas, yada yada yada. All right.
yeah,
But one thing I was never adverse to was learning new things. So becoming a lot more familiar with HubSpot and starting to read the blogs and downloading sales templates and questions and everything else, I started to realize that, wait a minute, we do have a lot of change happening in the industry. But I think the people who've been adverse to some of that change the most and this is not a knock on them, but this has been my folks in marketing, because they've been learned marketing one particular way, and they've never really learned marketing that aligns with sales, or towards things like sales attributions, but it comes from marketing support and stuff like that. And to an extent, it really meant that they had to learn a whole new set of stuff outside of what
yeah,
they may have in their degrees and their masters and stuff like that. So I've really appreciated the power of inbound, because it's worked for me. Doing things online using social media, even though yes, I still pick up the phone and I make calls to
yeah,
customers. There's something that Damish said. I think I was reading it when I think it's Damish, where he was speaking about organizations. And if Juma is still on the line on the thing here with us, he may love hearing this, where Damish mentioned that instead of having a marketing department, I think you also just used the term, you should now have like a media center,
yeah,
because doing podcasts, doing videos, doing your blogs, everything that you would use now as different mechanisms to educate, nurture, entertain your customers. It's a big thing, and I think those are the things that I've seen HubSpot also do with the podcast center.
yeah, yeah. We are. This is an area we are investing a lot in. We've sort of realized that it's nice. There's nothing
Mm,
wrong with being advertised on a podcast or being advertised on a website. Like that can work well, but it's even better if you run the podcast,
yes.
right? Because then
Right.
people who like the podcast, people who come to learn about whatever the podcast is about, associate that with your brand, right? And that's just goes back to that building a relationship of trust, right?
Hmm.
You can catch people's attentions through ads. I don't have anything bad to say about advertising,
Right.
but education is always better than advertisements.
Yes.
And especially if you think about people who are really into podcasts are listening to every episode of that podcast as soon as it comes out. They are, each week or each month or however often they're listening to those episodes. Um, that's a great way for them to get familiar with you and feel like they know your brand. And it's interesting. I mentioned this thing I do on LinkedIn, right? It's not part of my job. No one asked me to do it. I just thought it'd be fun to explain kind of some frequently asked questions about HubSpot, and I just keep it going. Now, anytime HubSpot gets a new feature, I publish a 2 minute video, and a 2 minute video takes me like 3 minutes to make. Right? It's no effort at all. But I'm amazed how, as a person now, individually, so often when I talk to people, they're like, "I feel like I already know you, Kyle, because I see your videos all the time." And for me, if I was a salesperson, I'm not, but if I was, what a great place to start a conversation, right? And so if you're in sales or marketing, I absolutely recommend that you figure out what questions your customers have or your target customers have. What are the things they're trying to accomplish? How can you help them? How can you add value? I think the thing a lot of salespeople don't appreciate about themselves is just by virtue of having talked to so many people, some who choose to become your customer, some who don't, you know your industry better than anyone. You are an expert. You have heard
Mm,
everybody's problems. You've heard everybody's complaints. You've heard everybody's goals. You've heard everybody's dreams. You've heard everybody's struggles to achieve those goals and dreams. Um, and you know how it comes together, how it works, how people overcome their challenges and achieve their goals. And if you can package that together and put it on the internet, people will love you. People
yes.
will eat it up, right? Whether it's a podcast or whether it's videos or whether it's a blog post or how whatever is easiest for you, whatever your skill set best helps you excel at, um, that will build that relationship, right? And then when you pick up the phone and call someone or you're in a meeting with them, they will say those words to you. They will say, I feel like I already know you, and they'll mean it in a good way, right? They will see you as a friend, as an ally. And then of what now instead of the old sales motion of trying to convince them they need to buy this car or whatever it is you're selling, you can build on that relationship and say, great, let's tell me what your struggles are, tell me what your goals are, let's talk about how we can work together on that. That is such a nicer place both for the salesperson and for the customer to start a conversation than just a cold call or an email out of the blue saying, hey, I got this thing I think you should buy.
And that is so true because of the fact that those I mean a lot of things have been shifting for me over the last couple of years, Kyle, and I am actually seeing the value of really moving customers through it. You know what it aligns me? I'm not sure if you may be familiar with this book, but there's a guy by the name of Kevin F. Davies. And to me, he has one of the best books because that book kind of aligns with what everybody else speaks of. And the name of the book is Slow Down, Sell Faster. Now, he may
Huh.
not be talking a lot about inbound, but everything that you just said there in terms of making sure you find out a lot about the customer. But now, if we do that, but also now use the 2020 approach, use the technology, use all the different media platforms, social media, etc., excuse me, you do get that opportunity of nurturing that customer until they are actually ready. You do get that opportunity of having your sales team engage with the people who are closest to purchasing from you and not the person who's now finding out about you and also finding out if this thing might even make sense for them because at the end of the day sales reps are focused on numbers, so every customer they meet they want to put them in a 30-day time frame turnaround time, or whatever
Yeah.
the sales cycle is. But again, really now incorporating inbound or having a strategic approach between both in and outbound, I think has it. I've really seen a really good. I've gotten a better appreciation of it. So before we wrap up, I wanna maybe ask you um, anything that you would want to share with folks, just as a leave behind as it relates to letting them know as to whether HubSpot is for them or not. Right? Now, I may
Yeah.
know, again, I am biased. I might say, yeah, HubSpot is for you, but I would always say you need to have a strategy. What is it you're trying to achieve? Right?
Yeah.
How would you maybe mention to someone, or how would you speak to someone who's saying, yeah, but I don't know if HubSpot is for me? How would you have a conversation with someone along those lines?
Yeah. I mean, HubSpot has been designed, as I said, our mission, our vision is to help millions of organizations grow better. So if you are a company that is interested in growth, however you define that, if you want to grow the number of employees you have, or if you want to grow the number of customers you have, or if you want to grow your top line revenue, or whatever it is you want to grow, if you are interested in business growth, HubSpot is a great platform for you to check out. Um, if you are a small business that is happy to stay a small business, if you are, you just want to keep. When I was a teenager, I worked at an office supply store, and it was just a man and his wife, and they had started it. They had like 5 employees. They had their one little building, and that they were really good at office supplies, but they weren't interested in like ever growing out of that building, right? That is fine. I have nothing but love for small businesses. HubSpot can still help you. but it's not really like we are very interested in helping you grow. And if you're happy to just stay where you are, if your business is meeting your needs and your customers' needs, and expansion is not on your horizon, you might not need HubSpot, right? Your handwritten ledgers and things might serve you perfectly well. It's worth noting there is a free version of HubSpot. So if you want to try it out, the risk is minimal, right? You could just start putting your customers into HubSpot. Start using, we have a thing called deals that we use to track sales in progress. You could start, running your website and your marketing campaigns off of HubSpot, and just see if it helps. See if it helps you be more organized, have better relationships with those customers. But you don't have to. But if you are interested in growth, I would say absolutely HubSpot is for you. We will do everything we can to help you achieve your growth goals, however you measure them. And again, HubSpot starts free. So I know if you're a small business, or a startup, or whatever, you probably don't have a ton of budget to spend on software right now, and we get that. We recognize that you can just start with the most basic fundamental pieces of HubSpot. It's CRM and marketing tools and other things. And then as you grow and as your revenue increases and you want to invest more in the software that helps you grow, then you can buy our more expensive packages. But I would say anyone here, if you're doubtful, if you are skeptical that CRM at all is something your business needs, just sign up and see what happens. I can pretty much guarantee you, if you sign up for HubSpot and you're just using the free version and you decide you don't like it, we're not going to bother you. You're not going to get salespeople calling you, demanding that you give us your credit card information. That's just not how we operate. We are very much interested in working with the people who want to work with us, whose goals align with the stuff we've built. And so the risk to you is very minimal. Try it out, see what you think. But I'd also say, like, if you think CRM is an important part of your growth plan, give it a serious try. Right? I can guarantee you, if you just sign up for HubSpot and spend an afternoon in it and leave and never come back, it won't do you any good at all. It's going to take, like Lyndon's been talking about, you got to have strategy. But I mean, hopefully we can help you with that too, with our blogs and our academy. So, yeah, it's not necessarily for everyone. But if you are interested in business growth, I would say you should absolutely be looking into HubSpot.
Kyle, I just really want to say thank you for sharing that, because I think, and it aligns well, because if I remember, I think it says here that HubSpot, it's the goal for HubSpot is to become the #1 CRM provider for scaling companies. So as you said, if you're not really looking at growing, well, then HubSpot may not be, even though it could still give you value at to stay at the same level. But if you're really looking at growing, then it's really definitely one of the best tools. And I would want to say congratulations to you, and by extension the entire HubSpot team, because I saw a couple of posts moving around. I haven't been able to go and check that yet. I think G2.
Yeah.
So what we're speaking about here, guys, is that HubSpot was mentioned as the #1 CRM provider. I think in the matrix, you guys are up to the top left as it relates to, or top right as it relates to leaders in the CRM space, just above Salesforce, which everybody knows about, but just above Sales. But it's really cool.
Yeah, that quadrant, for anyone who's not familiar with the G2 quadrant, they put all the different competitors on a quadrant, and they measure customer satisfaction. I think they're on one side is customer satisfaction reviews and feedback on surveys and stuff, and the other one is market presence, just how many people know about you. And for the overall CRM, we have finally overtaken Salesforce, which is incredible.
That's
because nothing but respect for Salesforce. They invented the CRM space. They've been the incumbent for a long time. You can actually drill into that report a bit. And for small businesses, HubSpot wins. We destroy Salesforce on the small business side, because small businesses are what we love. Small and mid-sized businesses who want to grow. That is our thing. On the mid-size, it's neck and neck. We are just barely edging out Salesforce. And then when you get to enterprise, Salesforce is destroying us, right? And that's by design. If you are Apple or Boeing or Microsoft, or if you're one of the biggest companies in the world, we're not really interested in doing business with you because we want to help small businesses grow, right? If you want to
Right.
compete against Boeing or Apple, like come our way. Like we will help you do that. But yeah, like the enterprise, we're happy to let Salesforce keep that space because
Mm.
we are much more interested in helping businesses grow.
Helping those businesses grow. And I really do appreciate that. Hey, shout out to my guy Stefano. Stefano is he was my cam last year, and
Oh,
a
nice.
really excellent dude, really excellent dude. You know, actually, I need to maybe give him a shout. Sometimes over the sometime over the weekend, you know. But yeah, as I say, I have really seen the value of HubSpot. I have seen the growth of the platform. I think just being able, and here's the thing: I was one of those people who started off using HubSpot back in the day, and then stopped. I was like, oh, I can't figure this thing out. So let me just leave it alone, right? But over time, I dedicated myself to say, okay, let me just see exactly what this was. And for anyone who isn't familiar with my journey, when I became a sales enablement practitioner working with companies, initially HubSpot was not my first CRM provider. What happened though is that I personally was not satisfied with how that provider was delivering or servicing me. And I felt that wasn't good enough for me to carry to a customer. So I kind of ran through the year um, with my relationship with them, and I ended the contract after the 12 months. And I started searching around, and I had, as much as I had a number of other providers there, HubSpot really stood out because of its alignment with what I wanted to do for customers and what it was actually providing to me. So shout out to you, Kyle. Shout out to the entire HubSpot team. I'm fingers crossed that inbound is in person this year, at least somehow, you know.
Yeah.
But I really do appreciate that you taking the time to really have this conversation about HubSpot. So my goal is to really try to grow HubSpot within the Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean specifically. We do have a lot of people who started off using the platform. They understand the value, but they've got lost along the way. And it's been a real journey just trying to educate and push those people to get back into the platform. So thank you
Yeah.
so much
Yeah. Well, and if
for
I
being
can
part
just
of this.
return that to you real quick. Shout out to you, Lyndon. I think it's so exciting what you're doing. I love that you're carving out your little niche. You recognize that there in the Caribbean there are people who need HubSpot, and you're
Yeah,
the one who is going to help them find it. Something that to me is so remarkable about HubSpot is in our company we have a culture and we try to be kind and helpful to one another, and HubSpot has been really good about that as a company. But somehow in ways I don't understand, our ecosystem of partners and customers is all that way. Everybody is
yeah,
so nice. Everybody's so helpful. Everybody's really bought into this idea of helping. Selling is helping, right? Like we want to.
yeah.
And so
Correct.
anyone here, who's just browsing and listening to Lyndon and not sure if they want to work with him, try it out. This is not my first conversation with Lyndon. He's a great guy,
Thank you.
and he won't he's not going to sell you something you don't need. So I would absolutely recommend just putting some time on his calendar and talking with him just for the fun of it, and if he can help you with your growth goals, yeah, so much better.
Thank you very much, Kyle, and thank you everyone that's going to be seeing this that has joined and just shared with us now, and of course those of you all that's going to be seeing this after. Kyle, thank you so much. Stefano, we'll chat, right? And have a great Friday, everyone. Peace. Bye bye.
Bye.